Hello, Mark Red Larson here for the Dreamcatcher podcast. Thanks for joining us. Today, my guest is Jenn Fisher. How are you doing, Jen?
Doing good, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Good. Well, thanks for being our guest. So Jen, where do you live at?
I currently live in New Jersey, where I was born and raised. I
Okay. I have never
sometimes
been
feel
to New
ambivalent
Jersey.
about that. I'm sorry, what did you
Why is
say?
that? No, I have never been to New Jersey. Why do you feel that way?
It's
Ambivalent.
it's hard to live in New Jersey, I think, for a few reasons, but it's where my heart is. So,
No,
yeah.
I've never been there. Well, New Jersey seems to get a bad rap anyway. Even back here, it's like Jersey. Why do you want to go to Jersey? But I'm sure. Are you in a city or out in the country or
I'm in South Jersey, so
South Jersey?
it's
Okay.
not like New York, Jersey at all. It's Pine
Okay.
Barrens, New Jersey.
Oh, okay. No,
But
I've seen pictures of Jersey, and I think but you must love it there. You said you like being there. Have you ever thought about moving, or you just want to stay there?
I think about moving all the time. That's why it's sometimes conflicting. I do like to go to other states, and there's parts of New Jersey that would be quiet and wooded enough for me, but
Okay.
now of course the real estate market is what it is. But yeah, my roots are
Yeah.
here, and I have an
Wow.
entire blog dedicated to South Jersey, so that's why it's
Really
conflicting.
awesome.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
where can we find your blog at? What's the name of your blog?
Well, it's a brand new blog. It's called Travel South Jersey, and it is a
I
baby
like it.
blog.
That's
But
cool.
it's just as an example of how can somebody love where they live, create a blog around it, but still pretty much every day think about living somewhere else. So I don't know, it just keeps my brain busy.
I can relate with that because I people always put Nebraska down. Nebraska is like, why would you want to live there? And it's like, I like living here a lot. I can go to places we actually have quite a few airports close by, so I can get to Chicago, Denver, or Dallas very
Mhm.
quickly. But here I have my numerous turkeys, my deer, all my wildlife, and I just love the peace and quiet. We have an acre here. Actually, we have acre that we live on. There's actually 4 acres of grass, wooded and grass, which people don't think wooded in Nebraska, but we have that. Everybody thinks it's corn and cattle and all that stuff. That is true too. But yeah, people they definitely, it's like, why Nebraska or why the Great Plains? And there are times when we're having weather. I do wonder that because we've had a lot of violent weather this year, a lot of hailstorms. We had one with golf ball ping pong to golf ball stage tail. It lasted 20 minutes, which went on forever. It did a lot of damage. Actually, the house held up better than I thought it would. But and the people, I like the people, really well in Nebraska. They're just, I find them in other places in the world, all over the world. When we went to Italy last year, I thought the people were extremely nice there. And I'm sure where you're at, they're probably the same kind of people. People on the East Coast get a bad rap for being, I don't know, I've never been to the East Coast, so at least that part, um, not as friendly as we are here in the central part. So it's kind of, I love you doing a blog, and I could do a Nebraska blog or something like that. Because there is a lot of neat things. There's so much pioneer history because all the trails went here through here. Oregon Trail, all those went through here, just right to the north of where I live here. And but people just, they have preconceived notions like I do of New Jersey when I hear it. Um, so why the blog? Why did you decide to do that all of a sudden?
So, my main blog is Jenn Fisher Books.
Okay.
You can find it at jennfisherbooks.com. And that is my uh, travel blog. So that's the
Okay.
travel that includes, Europe and a lot of the United States. I think over 25 states.
Wow.
And I did have New Jersey included in that configuration. And quite honestly, I noticed that the New Jersey posts were doing phenomenal compared to the blog
Wow.
overall. And there were a lot of changes in blogging, and it was a lot of people lost their business. blogging in the past 6 months. And
Really?
still, yeah. So it was a pivot. I realized not only was it a smart business move to pull the New Jersey blogs off because for some reason they were doing exponentially better than the other posts, it was also, I realized that it was really its own niche as far as my main blog is about solo travel to heal,
Okay.
and it's about taking trips away from home. And part of the solo travel is, traveling inward. So I do actually have a blog that I kept on that I do have a post that I kept on that blog that's about reasons to visit your hometown. Even though
Okay.
it's in traveling far away from home, it is all the places that I love, South Jersey area. So I realized that, you know, I can showcase South Jersey in a way that is much more impersonal than
Okay.
the mental health travel blog, and still show my love and share my passion without it being about healing for mental health. And so yeah, I mean, it's a newborn, a couple months old. So it
Okay.
has the posts that I had on my first blog, but I'm
Okay.
expanding them.
Okay. Neat. So how does one go about starting a blog? Is there a certain software you use, or how do I mean, what do you use to do your blog with?
Well, at first I used a hammer and just pounded it over my head for a couple
Did you?
months, and that
Okay,
didn't
that
work
works.
very.
Yeah. Okay.
I became very frustrated. So the backstory is I actually created a blog 2 summers ago, and once I created it, just the basics of a homepage and a couple posts, I didn't know what to do next. I had no
Mm-hmm.
idea. So
Mm-hmm.
it sat there for a year, and then a year later, I was like, well, let me try again, and I changed the domain name to Jenn Fisher Books,
Okay.
and I had a vision for it now. And that's when I took out the hammer and was like, okay, this hurts because I don't really know. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know WordPress. I don't know SEO. I don't know
Right.
um, the
I hear you.
very long list of things that you need as a skill set to do any kind of blog that's
Yes.
not just a diary. So I joined a course, and the
Okay.
course, kept me really, really busy. And
Mm-hmm.
I went from probably, initially maybe 10 to 15 posts, and now I'm about 85 to 90 posts,
Wow.
and really learned a lot. There's still a lot that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Le-
any business takes a couple of years to get up
It
and
does.
running.
It is definitely there's a process and journey and everything that goes with that. So,
Mhm.
so books. So what do you do where you live in New Jersey? What occupies your time? Obviously, it must be books to a point. I mean,
So the Jen Fisher Books was initially my email because
okay.
I wanted to be an author. Really, since high school, I wanted to be a writer.
Wow. Okay.
I tried to make a go of it around 20 years ago and didn't really get too far, but I created the email address because I thought
Okay.
I was going to be successful and have all these books and people could find
Right.
me so
Right.
easily.
Uh-huh.
However, when I didn't get any, back then it was just traditional publishing. I never got out of the slush pile. So
Okay.
I just kind of abandoned that dream again. But it really never abandoned me because I still
Mm-hmm.
really loved it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I went through a transition in my life 10 years ago, I um, realized, along with a lot of other self healing, that I love to solo travel. I love exploration,
Okay.
and learned how to use travel to heal myself, along with other recovery and trauma tools. And so I realized, it's not. I wanted to keep it Jen Fisher Books because I realized it's not Jen Fisher Books, and then it's like a book you hold in your hand, but Jen Fisher Books, a verb, what you do
Oh,
to book, travel and
I like that. I love
destinations.
that. Actually, that's cool. Yeah, I really
It's
like
fun.
that. Yeah,
That's
I think
nice.
that is. So, just one day you decided to do solo travel, or was it a journey to that point?
It was definitely a journey. At that time in my life, I was going through a lot of changes. I made
Okay.
some really, really hard decisions and um, kind of like blew up my life in a very traumatic way
Mm.
and ripped the band-aid off very painfully.
Uh,
So once I did that, I realized there was a lot of very trauma underneath that. And slowly over the years, I did a lot of work to uncover a lot of that trauma, healing, PTSD, severe codependency. So
okay.
what ended up happening was began when I was healing in those tough times, I began solo hiking. And,
Okay.
I had never solo hiked before. I'd always hiked with my friends.
Sure.
So once I started to spend that time with myself, a lot of things shifted inside of me. That was how I met my inner child. The forest really just embraced me. The healing was
Mm,
like
mm,
unconditional. I felt completely accepted and safe when I was hiking in the woods.
okay.
I didn't have to be anything to anyone. I wasn't on demand. My codependency was really, you know, ossaged because I nobody wanted anything from me that I
Mm,
couldn't provide. I
right.
just felt like I could just, for the first time in my life, be. And
Wow.
it wasn't like I was a victim. I was the one that overextended myself because I just had a lot of
Hmm.
behavior patterns.
Okay.
So a lot of those solo hikes led to hikes further from home, and that led to like a couple camping trips solo, and then like let's go a
Nice.
little further. And I went
Right. Right.
to Sedona, Arizona was like my first real solo trip, and then Ireland
Nice.
was my first trip abroad.
No, that is so. I mean, so I know you recently were just recently traveling. Where were you traveling? I mean, just recently. What was your last trip that you just did?
I just got back from Banff National Park
Ah.
in Canada last Wednesday.
Oh, I bet that was
Um,
beautiful.
it was very unique because first, my husband and I traveled to Newfoundland, and
Okay.
then he had to go back to work, but I wasn't ready to come home.
Uh-huh. I
My
can see
regular
that.
life is teacher, so I have
Mhm.
summers off. So that was your question about 5 minutes ago.
Okay.
So I travel all summer. So he came home from Newfoundland, and I went over to Banff from St. John's. I flew to Calgary.
Nice.
Highly recommend both places. They
Really?
are
Okay.
no, it couldn't be any more different. Just a plane ride away. I guess, yeah, the United States has the similar,
Mm-hmm.
comparison.
Okay.
Um, Before that trip was Croatia, and before that trip was Cornwall, England.
Oh, wow. Gonna ask you about both those. So Croatia, was it what you thought it'd be like?
I love Croatia. I
Really?
didn't expect the Mediterranean climate. Um, so when I solo travel, I like to go to one summer island. I do a lot of inner child work, and the
Uh-huh.
thing is like my inner child loves snorkeling. So I always
Me
choose a
too.
destination that is gonna, I like to swim in warm water.
Hmm.
So this year it was the island of Hvar.
Okay.
Um, it was hard getting there because it was the Microsoft glitch. So uh,
Oh,
I had to go
that's too
through two
bad.
countries. Yeah, it was interesting. I had to go through two countries in Italy to get to Croatia from London. So that was like an experience.
What a trip.
Um, yeah, that was quite a trip.
Wow.
But yeah, Croatia was wonderful for the climate. The climate was just very warm, but no humidity.
Oh,
Um,
perfect.
it was interesting walking around not knowing the language. I had fun with one of my um, innkeepers. She was such a sweet old lady. I love
Mm-hmm.
how they do business there. The
Uh-huh.
innkeepers are old women who take your passport number down in a ledger with pencil and paper.
Oh, wow.
It's really
Uh,
cool.
that is.
So, yeah, and it's really old world Europe. And, I did Havar, which is like a celebrity experience it. But
Right.
for me, I'm not going to stay there. I wanted to experience it. But then I went to a very, very, very quiet part of Croatia. And
I
there
would love
wasn't
that.
even any cars in the village. So,
Wow. I mean, that is so cool. I would love that. I mean, how do you pick where you go?
well, again, like I do a lot of intentional traveling.
Okay.
So really, I sit with it. I have an idea, but I'm not impulsive. I don't necessarily say, okay, I want to heal this part of me. Like that, that's not my
Uh-huh.
method. My
Right.
method is to just go within my heart and in my soul and see what speaks to me.
Okay.
I'm actually on the fence right now because I'm like, my head says, let's go to Iceland over Christmas, but my
Uh-huh.
heart's like, something's not vibing.
Yeah.
And my process is very much like, intuitive. So I think
Mm-hmm.
like, it's very to relate to it is like just a little if you were watching a show and like a little sparkle comes up when somebody says
Mm-hmm.
something, that's
Mm-hmm.
what I get internally.
Okay, I
Some of
know what
your
you're talking
the
about.
little background music is like and the audience knows like, oh, there's something there. Well, I have that like in my own personal head and heart. So
I
I
hear
get
you.
little, like I want to go there, and a lot of times, like I said, it's like an inner child thing, like, you know, hey, that sounds like fun. But
Mm-hmm.
England and Ireland were somewhat based upon ancestral healing and healing
Okay.
generational trauma.
Okay.
So I did a lot of work on my blog around those trips with being able to go back into my lineage and understand the system,
Right.
is like
Right.
way beyond what I experienced in my childhood with mother and father.
Okay.
Um, and I love English people. I could just sit there and listen to them talk all day. I don't know what
Okay.
it
I
is.
love that.
I know it's
Uh,
a silly thing, right? But
but
you
I know
know,
what you mean. It's just that yes, I know exactly what you mean there.
yeah, I feel very safe there in terms of like boundaries, English.
Okay.
What I've experienced in my travels, I gel really well with the polite mannerisms. There's just like a formality, which
Okay.
I find a safety in. People are just,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like we were talking at the beginning of the podcast about people being nice.
Mm-hmm.
We have to create that world. I totally get it. I don't expect people to walk around and cater to me,
Mm-hmm.
but it does kind of, when you're used to, I think that's what people want to like get the message out about traveling. It expands your horizon, which is such a
Yes.
cliche. It does. It's such a cliche. But, it's not really about how other people act. It's about how I internalize what I'm experiencing. So
True.
when I have that experience in England and I'm like, wow, people, they kind of like have lowered voices when they're sitting close to you, or they use manners. There's things about that I'm like, okay, well, how does that make me feel? I'm like, well, and then I sit with that and I think, certain things about cultures, and these, were my cultures as well. And again, I don't want anybody to misinterpret what I'm saying about people as stereotypes. I am saying that all of this is my perception,
Good.
and this
Thank
is
you.
what travel does for me. I sit and I reflect and I think, well, do I want to be that kind of a person? Like, how do I feel about that? Do I want to give
Yes.
up, you know, my peace of mind just to go somewhere that I, may or may not be welcome? And
Right.
it's not
Right.
even about safety. Safety is not really ever on the table, although female
Mm-hmm.
solo traveling is always a hot topic. But, I'm very careful to there's what I don't know. I don't know how many countries there are in the world right now. But
Mm-hmm.
out of all those countries, I can pull it down real quick for which ones make the cut for my safety.
And I can see that. So yeah, I mean that's last year when we went to Italy. Everybody warned us about the pickpockets, and we
Hmm.
never we never did see that. I mean, maybe we were just not in the right area, but everybody was so friendly, and we were ready. We just thought maybe we better be ready for that. And it's like the people were amazing. I mean, they just couldn't have been any more friendly. And it's like, well, this isn't what I thought. I had that preconceived notion of what people were going to be like, and it's like, okay, I like this country. And we were in the southern part of Italy, down by Naples and Positano, and all that, which I really like that area. So, but I got to go back to Cornwall. My wife and I were supposed to do an anniversary trip to Cornwall before she got her cancer this last time. So, would you recommend Cornwall?
Absolutely. Now, the funny thing is, Cornwall is supposed to be the sunniest part of England, and when I was there, it was not.
Really?
So,
Okay.
so that was
Oh,
interesting. But the weather was still very pleasant. It
was it
just
okay?
wasn't sunny. It was just a little bit of rain and a little bit of, you know, and again, like travel's about expectations, right? Like,
It is, yes.
I was told Ireland was going to rain a lot, and it did. My expectations were, accordingly. Cornwall was supposed to be a sunny destination, and when I was there, it wasn't. But
Wasn't okay.
so I traveled around Loo, which is spelled Looe. It's
Okay.
way down on the tip.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, without a doubt, I'm very interested in Celtic history as well, and that's
Yeah.
why I
Yeah.
chose Cornwall.
Uh-huh.
So there were a lot of holy wells to visit.
Nice.
There was a lot of very talk about historical settings. The If you pull up any photographs or images of Lou, and then there's
Mm-hmm.
a town right by there, Paul, you
Okay.
will definitely think that it was from the 1800s because it's
Wow.
intact and untouched by time. And there's a lot of sea cliff hiking.
Uh-huh.
Um, I walked everywhere, and when I couldn't walk, I took a bus. So, the walkability in Europe, I'm sure you've already
Mm-hmm.
experienced, is totally different. But
It
if you
is.
want to just, especially for solo travelers, um, that was a pocket of Cornwall that was, I highly recommend. And they have a very intact public transport system, so you can get all
Worth a
around
lot.
depending on how much time you have.
That's very good. And that's what we ended up in southern Italy. We started riding the trains because we first
Mhm.
rode a taxi. Oh my gosh. We only did that once. That was crazy. Oh my gosh. The traffic in Naples was crazy. The trains were very nice. The trains were very reasonable. And yeah, we learned very quickly that we didn't do that. So, but that, I mean, that is why I travel. I relate with you. Travel is such, you don't know what it's like until you go there. We just like my preconceived of what that was going to be like. And so, do you think you will? Actually, we Cheryl and I were supposed to go on a trip actually right now to Iceland. You think you'll ever go to Iceland another time?
I know for sure I will. I have had
Okay.
Iceland on the table for about 3 years now.
Okay.
It's like I point like, I'm looking at a map. It's right there.
Uh-huh.
It's right there from New
Uh-huh.
Jersey.
Yeah.
So, and there's so many things that draw me there. I'm just
Hmm.
not sure if I'm going to go there for Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder what that would be. Probably not much sunlight, I would guess, and probably I
Not
don't
much
know.
sunlight. Last year, over Christmas, I went to London, and it's interesting when you said you had certain expectations and you loved it. I
Hmm.
figured people in London were going to be, London gets a bad reputation. People complain about Londoners all the time,
Uh-huh.
and I thought
Uh-huh.
they were amazing, and I fell
Really?
in love with London, and
Okay.
I'm not a city person. I have to like,
I'm not
make
really
it a
either.
condition. But I fell in love with London, and it got dark in London around, I don't know, five, no, 4:30,
Okay,
maybe
that's
four
early enough.
o'clock. Yeah, so I'm used to darkness,
Yep.
descending in when I travel west of New Jersey and
Yep.
during, December. So
Yeah.
I think
Short
I would be
days.
okay with it.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it looks like a place I've never really ever seen. You just looking at the pictures and it's so beautiful. And no, I can't wait to do that trip. I can't wait to do our next trip period. So do you how much of the year do you travel or does that vary?
No, it doesn't really vary. I have pretty much a set system. I take about 3 trips in the summer, um, which I keep extending my stamina. Uh,
Uh-huh.
when you go, I don't know, you probably have had this experience. When you go over to Europe, they travel all summer. Like
They,
when you going home? 5 weeks, you
yes,
know, you know, 6 weeks. I've been out for 2 months, and it's like jaw dropping and very inspiring. So
it is.
I'm trying to build up my stamina. I'm not sure if I can do it all in one. I usually come home, see my family,
Sure.
um, regroup, and do any kind of appointments that I have. But so
Yeah.
summer, I start as soon as I get out, a couple days after I get out of school at the end of June.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I, just plan it out the summer before I went to the Azore Islands. That's where I did some snorkeling, which
Ah, I
is
love
fun.
snorkeling.
Yeah,
It
you have
is. I
to
love it.
go to like here's like my philosophy. You have to go to an island in the summer because there's nothing like it. I don't
That's
walk around
true.
barefoot, but it's just the idea of living barefoot in the summer,
It is. It's just the vibe is just
Yeah, and
yes.
walking everywhere, it's very much
Hmm.
like returning to childhood. So that's probably why my inner children like it because, when I was a kid, I just rode my bike everywhere. It's just
Sure.
like, if I want to
Me
sleep
too.
till noon, yeah, if I want, I don't need to
Yes.
worry about.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah, I'll usually travel about 5 weeks total. I didn't actually add it up, but it had to be about five
Okay.
weeks this summer. I
That
take
is
a trip
nice.
at Christmas. Yes, it's very nice because I just have absolutely no expectations. I'm off from, third week of June until September.
Right. No, that is
Um,
so awesome.
yeah, and then I follow it through the year. November, I take a trip. Now, it seems like my husband and I like to go away in November. This year, we're going to do a
Okay.
camper van across California Highway 1.
Oh, very nice.
So
Oh,
it'll be fun. So
that
that
will
will
be a
be
great
a group.
trip.
Yes.
Yes.
And then at Christmas I go solo and, not sure. That's to be determined. So that'll be a week at Christmas.
So, do you ever do the Christmas markets over in Europe in December?
I haven't yet, and that's the other thing. I'm like, well, maybe I'll go to Germany. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Big question mark. So that's
Yeah.
fun. It's just fun living like that.
Mm-hmm.
It
It
makes me
is.
feel very alive. And then
It does.
in the spring, I take a camper van trip solo to the Southwest. And I've been
Okay.
doing that for a
Nice.
couple of years. Yeah, that's really nice because it's not really too hot yet. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Important.
just being on my own, through the desert. Last year, I went through Nevada desert. Had tons of really exceptional experiences.
Really? That's interesting. I was just going to ask
Hmm.
you how that was, but okay, that's interesting. So, no, you just never know. And then when you said Sedona, Sedona is, yeah. I mean, I could travel all the time. It's just, both Cheryl and I just love to travel, and there is something about it. It's just you feel renewed after you know. I like learning new things, and I think that's part of it. I like exploring. In fact, if I don't explore, you can ask Cheryl. I'm not in a very good mood. I think it's my inner child still there, and I like new experiences. I like meeting new people, and no, so have you. I think I probably asked you when we talked earlier. Have you been to Nebraska?
I've not been to Nebraska,
Okay.
no. I don't know
The
what I would do there.
There's quite a bit of history. Well, the eastern part is more
Okay, tell
urban.
me.
So actually, if you want to go to a neat place, and it's very rural, it's very much is go up to Valentine, Nebraska, and you have to go through that. You have to go to the sand hills, which are actually
Okay.
they're actually sand dunes, which are covered with grass, but they're so beautiful because there's actually the groundwater is right there, and so you have these lakes kind of like and at night, it's one of the best places to watch the stars. It's one of the top. But Valentine, we actually there's waterfalls, and you don't think of waterfalls in Nebraska. I can tell you that. But that area, and I mean, basically, I grew up in Nebraska, and it was like a whole nother world. It was just so beautiful. And then if you go west of there, the Panhandle of Nebraska is got like because it's getting pretty close to the Rocky Mountains, so it gets kind of mountainous. Not like the Rockies, but a lot of where dinosaurs and stuff like that were. They find actually western part of Nebraska and eastern part of Nebraska. They find a lot of dinosaur remains and stuff. and it's just that kind of stuff. And that we were actually one time eons ago, millennial ago, that we were covered with an inland ocean. So there's just so many things that I mean, it wasn't long ago in this county they found like a dinosaur remains, and it's just like it goes. It's like wow, dinosaurs were here one time, and I mean, yeah, there's a lot of corn, and everybody thinks going through on Interstate 80 it's flat, but which it is because that's the Platte River Valley. But there's so many. Well, right to the south of it is called the French Alps because the French people settled there. But it's really, really big hills, and it's just gorgeous. I mean, but like any state, I mean, sure, I might go to Kansas a lot because, and everybody's like Kansas, but Kansas is very similar. In fact, I think they have more geological stuff, and then they have Coronado Heights as one mountain in the middle of the state, and maybe you've been to Kansas, so but people are just like you travel. We do a lot of mini trips on the weekends to Kansas because we're only one county away, and it's just it's amazing. And Rock City in Kansas, where when the ocean went away, it left these bold house-sized boulders that are they're completely oval, and it looks like you're on another planet there too. So that's my spiel.
Well,
so,
I think you did. I think you did an excellent job
so,
selling me. I am very much
so
interested in looking up some of these places, and here's why, Mark. I'm going to tell you. The deeper part of this conversation that we're having seems just very surface, but the way that I interpret it is that that's what travel is. I don't want to travel just to be wowed. I don't want it to be just like an addiction, like let's go to the next thing. And being in
yes,
the places that I've mentioned in Europe, I'm not sure if it was very obvious, but a big takeaway is that it is completely empty. Like it is not over toured and it is not overpopulated. So
yes.
being able to, showcase places that people are that are under traveled or
Hmm.
understated. That's one of
Yeah,
my main platforms of my travel blog is to go to
I
quiet
love
beauty,
that.
which I found in Newfoundland is just like
I
I can't
bet.
believe people don't swarm here, but
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
to be able to show people, because I think that the point for me, what I try to do with travel is to understand that that beauty is everywhere, but when we're in our everyday, it is so hard. It is
It
so
is.
hard to really recognize, and travel awakens it. But
It
it's,
does.
it's not like really the places aren't changing. It's the mindset that's changing, you know?
Exactly.
And then the self-care around going somewhere that you want to go because you want to go and that makes you happy makes
Yep.
what you look at change too. Like when how you
Yep.
feel about yourself changes, then you project that out as well.
Amen.
So yeah,
It,
I'm gonna look those things up.
okay. If you're in Nebraska, I hope to meet up with you so we can talk in person. I'll buy you a coffee, tea, whatever you drink. I'll have a coffee with you if you drink coffee. So with
Oh.
you and your husband, or maybe I don't know if you drink wine, I'll buy you a glass of wine too. But if you do
Mhm.
that, but um, no, it is people. People who don't travel or think it's too expensive, and it's like, well, it can be. But that was one thing with my wife's cancer. We found the money for that, and you just find the money and to travel. So and don't do the some days because some days you never know. So
Yeah.
I just so I was going to ask you a question. So traveling. Do you have a podcast?
No, I do not have a podcast.
Would you ever do a podcast with your travels?
I don't think so. I don't think
Okay.
it's suited for me. I like to
Okay.
write more than I like to talk.
Well, and that's cool. We all have our yes.
Uh-huh.
So okay,
Yeah.
so I'm going to about my journey to today. I will be writing a book. So how would be the best way for a person that doesn't write easily, at least yet? How would you have me start?
Um, well, do you journal?
I do journal. I can do
Okay.
that
So,
much.
and it's true though, like everyone, it's kind of an oversaturated go-to from, well, I said mainly and mostly. Mostly for mental health, the first go-to is journaling. But I'll tell you that the reason why journaling crosses over into writing is because
Hmm.
you're getting to know what's important to you as you write. And so if you
Interesting.
already journal, you could pay attention to, what comes quicker and easier than others,
Okay.
and possibly go from there for your topics of what you would want to write about. But if you want to be a writer and you want to write a book, let the book write itself, which is just like,
Okay.
what do I even mean by that? I don't even know. I just made that up. But I mean it because I've done it. I'm
Right,
saying
right.
it from experience that I wanted to write a book and be a writer for years and years and years. And then when it was time, it just wrote itself because I had been practicing writing with my blog posts. As I,
Okay.
wrote thousands and thousands of word on short blog posts, I found out very quickly that, the book is there, it just has to be all put together. But I had to
Wow.
first get into the discipline and habit of writing about 1,000 words, uh,
Okay.
maybe at least 3 times a week you
Okay.
know um
Interesting.
so bridging from the journal to the writing of a book, the journal is just like a brainstorming idea. Obviously you're going to type it out. You can use different prompts to see what speaks to you. You could
Okay.
also write notes about some of your podcast interviews. Obviously your passion project is podcast.
True. Yeah.
So, going from some of what has inspired you and moved you, because, we're kind of like creatures of habit. What's important to us now is what's important to us now. Like,
Right.
we're
Amen.
just
Yeah.
so like in the moment, like, oh,
Exactly.
this or that. Like a year ago, I look back and probably most people are saying that it's like, wow, I thought that was so important. Now I don't really care about it.
Hmm.
And that's just a little bit of an exaggeration, but
Okay.
if you want to start a new habit, it has to be what excites you right now.
And I never thought it would, but I've changed enough that it's getting there. It's just like it kind of intrigues me, kind of like well, podcasting did not intrigue me when I started. It was one of those things that I had my coach at the time. She said, I think you should do that. But then once I got into it, it's like I love this. So, and maybe writing will be that way. I mean, I can't imagine not doing podcasting. I mean, it's just like it is. I look forward to it so much. I really do. So,
Why do you
uh,
want to be a writer? Or why do
yeah,
you want to write a book?
I just want to a different. I like sharing, with this medium. But there are people that don't do this. I find a lot of people don't watch podcasts, don't do anything, and it's like, well, if I can share my knowledge and what I've learned into a book, that'd be a different avenue for sharing it to people that aren't doing this. Because some people are just like, I'm too old for podcasting, or listening to podcasts, I should say, or watching, and it's just like, and they're just that way. But they'll read a book. So basically, just sharing another avenue. I'm always looking for different ways, and if I have to learn something about, I love learning, and if I have to learn something to get to that avenue, because podcasting is a never ending learning avenue, especially with AI getting into it, which I don't know what I think of that, but it's just basically sharing it with more people, in the world. I would just love to, and I've thought about doing just short books. I've thought about doing short ebooks and just different avenues, and even maybe doing a little speaking on stage. Probably not
Okay.
exclusively. So, but yeah, it's just another avenue, and it kind of because a good book. I mean, I love reading a good book is just like mm, you can get lost in it, and time goes by so quickly. So
Why don't you sit down and see if you can come up with 1,000 words after each podcast just to get into the habit of
that's a
writing?
great idea.
Just, put yourself in the put yourself
Yeah,
in like that you're speaking to your audience who missed your podcast but would maybe like to read it, and you're going ahead and
I
typing
love
it
that.
out for them and you know giving them the same information just in a different
Great
format.
idea. I love that. Thank you.
Even
I
if
mean,
you don't pass it on or monetize it, you would be getting
still,
the practice that you needed to become
I
a
love
writer.
that. That's a great idea. And that would just be every podcast I just do that and get into that. And that's a win-win. That's for sure. I got to do that. That sounds very,
Yeah,
very
and
good.
I don't
Thank
know
you.
if you have like a email marketing or newsletter, but you could
Mm-mm.
probably incorporate it at one point.
I probably could. Yeah, that's another idea, another avenue. No, I have never done that so far, but I probably will because I just keep on, just keep on. And I talk to so many people. It's like they stopped learning when they got out of school, and it's like, no, you got to keep learning. So, but
Mhm.
I'm talking about school. You said you go back to school. What do you do for school?
I'm a special education teacher.
I would think that'd be kind of neat.
Yeah, I'm going to be starting my 24th year.
Wow,
I know, I'm old.
time
So,
flies.
so traditionally I've taught older grades, seventh and eighth, but my placement is changing. So I'm going into a brand new school year with
Okay,
younger, third, fourth, fifth. No, I'm sorry, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth grader.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
I think that'd be rewarding. I would
Hmm.
think so. I've had both Cheryl and I've had a lot of teachers in our family over the years. So, and I think teachers a lot of times get a bad rap because teachers have to teachers have to do a lot with very
Hmm.
little in today's world. I mean, even around here, I mean, they don't have enough stuff for the teachers to use to teach with, and it's like, why is that? I won't even get on that soapbox, but it's just like, why
Hmm.
is that a thing? That should never
Hmm.
be a thing. So, so so, Jen, before we end the podcast, what are some other things you would like the audience to know?
Oh, wow. Can we narrow that down?
I mean, so what is next? So, I know
Okay.
you're going back to school and maybe traveling. So, I mean, do you have something more with your travel?
Uh, well, I will be, I started two new Facebook groups, which is really
Okay,
exciting. I
cool,
can reach more people that way.
awesome.
The first Facebook group is called Travel for Mental Health,
Okay,
and that will have a focus on, not just traveling, um, and not anxieties that come up around traveling, but just encompasses all of it, like how can you start? Like my story starts with hiking. And I find that a lot of my members take small steps, whether it's just a walk on the beach by themselves and, just sharing, that I realized when I had my own regular Facebook group, a lot of
hmm
people would say, "You're inspiring me." I'm like, okay, well, let's formalize this because we can really, actualize our potential if we try a little bit intentionally.
right,
So that focuses, I'm hoping on making an impact on
yeah,
people who, have the vision and, just need a little structure and also need the support around their mental health, wellness, and self care, because I've have found my mental health skyrocketed in 1,000 different directions from solo traveling. And my second Facebook group is Solo Travel Over 50.
okay,
And that will be
cool,
more for women who are pretty much comfortable solo traveling
okay,
and they want to refine it a bit. Um, so not necessarily for mental health or mindful travel, but with the understanding that we are traveling intentionally as a like,
hmm
at this stage, women in their 50s, that's what I am. We have a lot of
yeah,
similar goals around this stage of our life,
hmm
and women love to bond.
yes,
So, yeah. Um, I have two books out right now. I'm excited that one has just been accepted for a bundle for,
wow,
marketing. And
congratulations,
that's really fun. That one is called Roots and Wings, How to Heal Trauma and Travel Solo. And then
very
I have
nice.
an inner travel book on traveling with your inner child, which is so much fun.
I
It's
would
got
agree.
it's got meditations, it's got
Nice.
activities, it's got also retreats and workshops all over the world. I
Wow.
also showcase other mental health experts in there for.
Nice.
resources. Yeah.
Very nice.
And that was really fun to create. So yeah,
So where can people find these books?
on my website,
Okay.
jennfisherbook.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
All my resources are there. There's a lot of free resources too. You can take a little solo travel readiness quiz. See, like where are you in your readiness? Are you further than you thought? That could be a
mm-hmm.
pleasant surprise.
hmm
Or maybe, you're not as far and you just have
Yeah.
to do a little foundational work because,
Okay.
you want to be safe, you like psychologically safe,
True.
you want to be ready. And yeah, I love what you said about money. And I found that immediately most people say I would travel if I had the money. And
Yep.
you know, I do it too. I think, oh, I'll retire if I hit the lottery. That's no
Mhm.
different of a statement than I'll travel if I have the money.
True.
Even if my brain comes up with that, it's a joke because when other people say that to me, I'm like, that's not the answer. And then my brain
Nope.
tries to like spew that out, and I'm like, that is really not true, and you know it. So,
Brains
we
do
just
that.
we walk around with a lot of false beliefs.
We
So,
do. Yes, we do.
just being able to get at that core because travel is just for you.
Yes,
It's really just for your wellness
it
and for
is.
your joy and for
Yeah.
your healing.
Yes.
So, whatever that looks like to any one person is going to be different for everyone.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and I love what you said there. I mean, and it is for you, and it is. I mean, I feel so better mentally. It does. It just there's something about it, and I think there is a lot of mental, I guess, illness in this country, especially I don't know about Europe that much, but especially younger kids, I find, and it's just which is kind of interesting. I'm not sure why that is, but traveling gets you kind of out of your overthinking and
Mhm.
and just uh, can you? I'm a fan. Traveling does help on all that. And if people haven't, if they can't think they can travel, to Europe or whatever, do a small trip. Even a weekend trip is can be very refreshing. So on that, Jen, thank you for joining us on the Dreamcatcher podcast, and I look forward to meeting you in Nebraska. So so we got to do that, and I think you'll be surprised at Nebraska. People never get off the interstate, and the interstate's just flat. So it kind of boring too. So, but anyway, I'll tie it up there. Thanks again. Have a great day. We'll keep in touch. Maybe do a podcast down the line if that would be open. You'd be open to that. So, but thank you for joining us, and have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, Mark. I can't wait to read your book.
Thank you.
You're
Me,
welcome.
me neither.
Okay.
Bye. See you later.
See ya.